This is Real Deal Sports Talk with me, KP. It's Saturday, November 4th, 2017. All right, let's jump right into it. It's a big show tonight. We got a big guest with us. Coming out of Trenton, New Jersey. Coming from the University of Arizona, the Wildcats, a long jumper, 82 NCAA champion, a gold medal at the Junior Pan America Games, almost made the 84 Olympic team, number 82 wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, three amigos with Mark Jackson and Ricky Nattiel, played for your Denver Broncos from 85 to 93, was a San Diego Charger in 94, came back to the Broncos in 95, 415 career receptions, 37 touchdowns, over 5,600 yards. He was Tyreek Hill before Tyreek Hill. In 89, he went for 76 receptions, over 1,000 yards. He helped Denver to 3 Super Bowls. In Super Bowl 21, he had 5 catches for 127 yards and a touchdown. Yes, everybody, I'm talking about Vance Johnson. Vance, thank you for being here tonight. How are you doing, sir?
Brother, I'm fantastic, man. Boy, you're reading off those stats. Sounds like somebody who did some things in his life. So I'm excited about being on the air with you tonight.
Thank you very much for being here. You're a busy man. I know you had to take some time out of your schedule. I've seen you traveling all over this week, making effective change. And tonight, I'd like to let all of my listeners know a little bit about your story. I ran through the stats there a little bit. We'll talk about some of the highs and some of the lows, if that's okay with you.
I look forward to it, brother. You start it off, man, and we'll go anywhere you want to go with it.
All right, let's just start talking about where I became a fan. Obviously, your Denver Bronco days, there with the three amigos, Mark Jackson, Ricky Nattiel. What was that experience, that high, that feeling of being in that group of guys like?
Man, it was amazing. In fact, this is our 30th year anniversary, and so Mark Jackson and I were talking a little bit last night. Ricky Nattiel, we've been reaching out to him because we may be coming back to Denver, hopefully sometime this season, to say hello to the fans. We're all still alive in our 50s. So, but it was an amazing time for us as 22, 23-year-old young men. Mark Jackson and I were roommates. Ricky Nattiel was a first-rounder coming in. So there was a little bit of strife in the air because there was one quarterback, one football, and 3 wide receivers. And at the time, we didn't throw the ball a lot because we had Dan Reeves as a coach.
Right.
So Mark and I weren't getting along at one period of time because him and Ricky were friends, and all of a sudden Ricky and I were friends, and him and Mark weren't friends. And I was watching the old movie, The Three Amigos, with Martin Short and those guys. And I came up with this great idea, and I went and told Mark and said it's going to make us have to stick around with each other. If we call each other the Three Amigos, we're going to blame it on John Elway, and we're going to go out there and make some things happen. So we blamed it on John, and it forced us to have to get along, and it forced us to spend a lot of time together off the field, so we got to know each other even better. And it was just magic out there, man. It lived way longer than any of us are going to live. You know what I mean?
Definitely. That's one of those things that's legacy. That's something that for sure is going to live on, not just in the eye of the Broncos fan in Broncos Nation, but in the lore of NFL history as well, I think. What you guys were able
You're
to
exactly
accomplish.
right. You're exactly right. In fact, people talk about it all the time all over the country. They said, I heard of the Three Amigos. Were you one of those guys? I'm like, yeah, that was me, man. So,
that was me.
absolutely.
So, Three Amigos, high-powered offense. You mentioned you guys had John Elway, 3 Super Bowls. Most guys aren't lucky enough to get to one. Tell me what it was like being able to experience that level.
Brother, the best thing about it is when I was 22 years old was the first time I went to a Super Bowl. And I remember we had a great season. John Elway was just phenomenal, made a lot of plays. We didn't have the best defense in the world, but we were able to put points on the board, especially when we needed them. And once we got to the playoffs and we beat the Cleveland Browns in the AFC Championship game, and that was a game in itself, coming back, down from almost nothing with 99.5 yards to go. But making it all the way to the Super Bowl, I remember standing on the sideline. I think we played there in Pasadena. And I was standing on the sideline listening to the national anthem, which, by the way, I'm not one of those guys that kneels. I stand up because I know exactly what that flag represents to me, but that's a whole nother story.
There you go.
I remember listening to the national anthem, and watching the airplanes come over. And all of a sudden, brother, I was 7 years old again, man, in this uniform, remembering when I was just a kid wanting to make it one day to the Super Bowl. And here I was now able to play in one. And so I played with my whole heart. It was everything that I wanted to be, and it was every experience any kid would imagine as a child wanting to grow up and one day being in the Super Bowl, playing with players that you've heard about, playing with the great John Elway, who went to Stanford, who I watched him when I was in college. So it was just a surreal time in my life, but I was able to, by the grace of God, stay healthy enough to play over and over again and make it to 3 Super Bowls. So that in itself is not something that most ball players get a chance to do in a lifetime, even one.
For sure, definitely a blessing. I grew up, I played on the defensive side of the ball. I wanted to be Simon Fletcher myself. So I always...
Simon Fletcher, that was my boy right there, man. We both got drafted in the second round. I was drafted first, and he was drafted second. Both of us in the second round for the Broncos.
Yep, definitely. It was a good year for drafting that year.
It was.
So I would recreate some of those moments. I grew up here in Denver. My dad, he's a diehard Broncos fan, so I grew up on you guys. And, yeah, I would recreate those moments myself, trying to, relive that as a child and having that fantasy
Absolutely.
myself. I have to say, my favorite Vance Johnson moment, we're going to take you back to the 91 divisional game against Houston. They're calling it the Drive 2. You guys enter the game 12-4. Houston's coming in 11-5. What's the feeling coming into that game for you guys?
Coming into that game, the best part was you've heard of the Mile High Ghost, right? Remember the Mile High Ghost?
Yep.
We always knew if we played at home, we had a chance. The tough part playing against Houston at the time, a high-powered offense with Haywood Jeffries and the other receivers that they had, and the guys scored points all the time. We knew we were going to have to put a lot of points on the board. But unfortunately, they got off to a really good start and had a ton of points on the board, and we had a long way to come back to win that game.
Yeah, at halftime, they're up 21-6. You guys...
Yep, you called it.
You guys close it to 24-23 late. You get the ball back at your 2-yard line. Was there doubt in the huddle at that point? Or did you guys just think, we have this?
There's always a little bit of something going on inside you, wondering how you're going to get out of this mess. But then you look over at number 7, and you never saw in his eyes one time that there was a chance that you were going to lose the game. And that's the reason why I think John Elway, even as a general manager now, is such a great leader. Because back then, when you're in your 20s, you're looking for someone that you could believe in. And it's like going to war, and you need someone's going to have to step up to make something happen. And then when John comes in there, that's why they called him the general man. He started calling plays, and you knew if a play broke down, it wasn't over with. And that's when John showed his magic. And that's the reason why I think John and I got along so well, especially on the football field. Because when I saw John ever twist out and run an opposite way on the field, I knew that he wanted to make a play, and I'd always go parallel with him, knowing that if there was a chance, he'd get the ball to me. And that duck he threw to me on 4th down, by the way, if I'd have dropped that pass, everyone will remember, Vance Johnson threw me. Didn't he drop that pass against the Houston Oilers? So everything kind of went in slow motion when I caught that pass, man. I was running down the sideline. It was just an amazing time to be a Bronco, and a memory like that I'll always have for the rest of my life.
Definitely. 59 seconds left, 4th and 10. Elway's running around. He jumps over a guy, hits you for a 44-yard gain. You guys go on to win 26-24 on that field goal. And then you went on to face Buffalo in the AFC Championship game that year. What was that like facing that team?
You know what? Whenever we're playing against these teams in the AFC, you never know what it was back in the 80s especially. We always had a chance to pull it out. But we were always playing against teams who could really put points on the board. But we had John Elway. That was the big difference. We always knew, and going into the game, we knew we would probably be behind. But we always knew if we kept within a certain amount of points that we could turn it on at the very end, and we could put 14 points on the board really quick. Definitely. And so that's kind of how we played the game. And that's, I think, unfortunately for Dan Reeves, the reason why he had to go, because John wanted to put points on the board early. He wanted to score a ton of points, and he wanted to be in the Hall of Fame one day, being one of the leaders of all time. But, that's another story for another day as well.
For sure. You guys were a high-powered offense that gave hope to a lot of people here in Denver with the way you guys played. Fans always thought they were going to be in the game. So I personally will thank you for that as a young fan, for what you guys were able to accomplish.
Hey, the fans were the Mile High Magic. You know that.
Yeah, definitely. They gave you guys all they had, and you gave them all that you guys had.
We sure did.
All right, so that's some of the highs, that's some of the highlights, that's some of the good stuff. In '96, your playing days were over. You made your first public appearance that I can remember on the Oprah Winfrey Show to talk about some of the issues you were having with domestic abuse and addiction. What was it like?
Absolutely.
That being on Oprah, coming out like that? What was going through your mind, emotions, being able to have that strength and bravery?
Back then, because of the things that I grew up in and around when it came to domestic violence, the stuff that I saw at home, and the cheating and the abuse and the alcohol, the underlying issues that I grew up around, I never really thought that they would catch up to me. Now, when I became an adult, I kind of created a world for myself. But if you grow up around those things, there's no way you're going to all of a sudden be smart enough, cognitive enough to know that you're doing the wrong thing. And so you try to adjust to make things your way. But after my career was or at least when it was getting close to being over with, I started finding myself, after not being able to even navigate a successful relationship at all during my whole career in the NFL, being a cheater, running the streets, man, using, but being functional. And when things start winding down in my life, things got a little crazy. And I had some issues happen in my life with the ex-wife. Let me first preface this by saying it was all my fault. But I found out that she had cheated on me, and so instead of handling like a man, I decided to be stupid and be violent and throw things around, pushed her, and she ended up even hitting her head against the door one time, and I thought she was dead, man. And even when she was okay, I ended up being even more angry because of what I felt she had done wrong to me. And instead of getting help myself, I decided to act out even more, cheat even more, not come home at nighttime and drink until, close to my career being over with. I still played a few more years, actually, after that. But it was just out of control for me. And it just spiraled more and more downhill as I got marriage after marriage, because to me, if I got in a fight now in a marriage, I just broke up with that person because I didn't know how to navigate through it. I didn't grow up around anything outside of the domestic issues at home. I didn't know how to treat a woman. I didn't know how to get on my knees and exalt her like the Bible calls me to be, to die for your wife like Jesus Christ died for us. So it was just, it was chaos, man, in my life, to the point where, and the rest of that story is, I ended up moving to the western slope of Colorado. I started even using more, and I started running the streets more, although I was still successful. And I ended up using myself to almost death, when I lost my son. We can get into that, too.
Yeah, definitely. The loss of your son to a drunk driver, somebody who was clearly having the same struggles that you were going through. How did that, what role did that play on your life?
I blame myself because when my oldest son came and started spending some time with me, man, and he was saying, Dad, I just want to be like you. You're successful. You're rich. You have this. You have a restaurant. You got cars, man. Everybody wants you. But I still wasn't a good father, and he ended up doing some work for me. I got him in college and bought him a house, and he blew his engine out of his car, and so he couldn't reach me because I was either chasing or using. And he ended up taking his motorcycle across the mountain to go see his mother. His grandfather just died of cancer, and he was going home, man, after giving his girlfriend a kiss goodnight, and he got hit by a drunk driver and got killed. And so that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, because he was the love of my life. And so all I did was drink, use, chase even more. I just turned it up a notch where now I became completely out of control. My family was working for me, and my mother and father had to do a hostile takeover of the restaurant. I was arguing with my dad, blaming everything on him because of what I saw as a child, pushing him around the restaurant, throwing him on the ground, screaming at my mother and cussing at her because she stayed with this idiot that I hated in my life because of the things we saw as a kid, not even knowing that this was all my fault, that I was an adult and I had choices. And I ended up using myself, drinking and using myself into a coma, literally a coma, where I was laying there and they just knew I was going to die. That's how far it got from me.
So at your lowest, you brought up the coma there, 26 days in 2009.
Yeah.
You were basically, do you feel like you were masking with the addiction, using that to hide the pain and the feelings, and that maybe what...
Yeah, man, that was the only way I knew how to get rid of things, was hide it. The only way I could hide the pain was to use, man. It was the drinking, and in using prescription pills. And I ended up, on my deathbed, chained to the bed. Man, I remember waking up after 26, 27 days and was pooping on myself, man, and peeing all over myself. And they were rolling me over, cleaning me up, and I was near death. And my sister even took a deathbed picture of me, which I keep to this day, and I look at it every day to remind myself of how low things were for me. But by the grace of God, man, after I got out of there, I tried to stay clean for a while. I tried to go to AA. I tried to go to NA. I tried to stay clean, but I couldn't. And then I was driving through this canyon one day, man, just screaming out to our Lord, saying, God, you got to help me. I was already married 7 times. My parents were, they couldn't stand me. My life was just destroyed, man. So I'm screaming to this God that I know is real. And I heard a voice tell me I needed to get help. All of a sudden I get a phone call from Randy Grimes, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, who was had already gone through treatment, said the NFL would pay for me to get the treatment. And I got on the airplane and headed to Florida.
That's something else. And I first read about Randy Grimes in an article that you were part of in January of 2014 with Benjamin Hockman.
Right.
The Vance Johnson of the Three Amigos opens up about alcoholism. And he talked about a little bit about your story, but he goes on to say that Randy reached out to you and played a big part of your recovery because it was somebody that you saw as going through it, having a similar experience, living a similar lifestyle. Tell me a little bit more about Randy Grimes and those first interactions.
Yeah, man. The first thing I did when Randy reached out to me is obviously every addict, alcoholic, and you got a lot of people listening to your show right now who may be in denial. But the first thing you're going to do is think you can do it on your own. And when I decided that this voice from this God I heard telling me to get help and heard from Randy Grimes, and I started watching him on this video on the internet, and I watch it over and over and over again. I think it was a total of 33 times I watched him talk about his life, how it spiraled out of control, and how he had to take the leap of faith and he had to go get treatment. And I was like, this is not just a paid athlete, because we don't lie to each other. And so I called him and we talked, man, and I watched him again because I could tell whether he was lying or not. And then I saw his face, and I believed him. And so when I had a chance to meet him, and every time I see him, I call him Big Brother, man, and I say, thank you so much, Randy, because if it wasn't for God using you as a vessel to reach out to me, because I didn't listen to my mother, I didn't listen to my father, I didn't listen to one of my exes, I didn't listen to my friends, I didn't listen to anyone tell me that I had a problem. But when I heard that voice, and I heard another former football player who had traveled the same road that I traveled, and he told me, man, you've got a problem, and we can help you with this if you just want to come to treatment. But you have to really, truly have faith and believe. Just like when you're a ball player, you got to believe in your coach. It's the same thing when you go to treatment. You have to surrender, and you have to listen to the people, the experts, who know how to show you the tools that you need when you finally need treatment. And then you have to do it for forever. You play ball. If you're going to play ball and you want to be good, you got to practice all the time, right?
Right.
Same thing you do when you get clean, brother. Is practice every day until it becomes a lifestyle, and that's what it is for me now.
Very nice. So you have these interactions with Randy Grimes. You end up in treatment, behavioral health of Palm Beaches. You become the certified recovery coach and a member of Randy Grimes' team, the Pro Recovery Team. You're an advocate now for domestic abuse victims. Tell me a little bit about how the Pro Recovery Team and that program works.
Well, what the Pro Recovery Team was, it was a number of professional athletes. Both, 3 or 4 of us were in treatment before and were walking this life of sobriety. A couple other guys were just down and out and had lived through some issues in their life, and they just wanted to be a part of something just like we did when we played ball that was greater than ourselves. And so we put together the Pro Recovery Team so we could reach out to not just former athletes, not just young athletes, but just to your next door neighbor to talk to them about treatment and how they can get help. Now, since then, we've kind of all moved on. Randy's still at the same place. We have another guy, Chris Jones, who used to play with the Philadelphia Eagles. He's still there. My boy, Sean Dykes, he moved up to New York City, and he's a bodyguard now for one of the owners of one of these professional baseball teams.
Nice.
Another guy moved back to Cleveland. He was a Cleveland Brown for a while. I forget his name. We call him Big Dog. And then myself, I've moved on, and now I work for Futures of Palm Beach. It's a drug and alcohol rehab facility there in Florida. I'm an outreach coordinator for them. I travel around the country as an advocate, and I speak to high schools, colleges. I love going to churches and telling my brothers and sisters in Christ how they've been given this power of self-control, and the enemy's ways of keeping them in bondage is to keep them high in drugs and alcohol, to destroy their family. I just met with Governor Chris Christie day before yesterday rather, and talked with him, and he's going to make me the face of sobriety now. He made that commitment to me the other day. He's going to help me help some other people that are struggling around the country that need treatment. I met with the mayor a few days prior to that. So I've been really busy, man, and it's just about getting that message out. You know, and I know you have listeners listening to you that respect you and honor your show, and so I just want to thank you for letting me be on here so I could tell them that there's hope out. There's hope if they're struggling. And all they have to do is just reach out to someone. Reach out to me, man. My Facebook page is blowing up all the time, and it's what God gave me as a gift to fight this enemy and this addiction so I can offer hope to people and show them ways to find their way out of this hell and addiction, brother. That's what I do now.
Definitely. I'm going to keep it 100. I'm proud of you for all the efforts that you're making. There's a guy I met the other day at an event that I was at, Mike D, if you're listening. I hope you're hearing the message and hearing that there's people out there that you can reach out to. There's things you can do. I know you're struggling with your alcoholism, but you're doing it, man. It's a fight every day. Just keep doing what you got to do. Listen to what Vance says. Reach out to him if you have to. There's ways to get better.
It's brothers like you, man, who are willing to take that chance and allow us to have that free airtime where we can just offer hope to people, brother. And I'm sure that's what you do with your show anyway. So I was really looking forward to this time to spend with you, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And you just reach out to me anytime you want to talk. If there's someone you want me to reach out to and talk with them, or if we could just kick it, man, and talk about sports, just let me know, brother.
For sure. Before we get out of here tonight, I want you to have time to talk about Vance Inspires, Hope-Driven Change, how people can reach out and contact you if they want to, and plug anything you got coming up.
I appreciate it. Vance Inspires was created because when I was in treatment, man, there was a counselor that quit on the weekend, and they didn't have anyone to help these guys, through classes for a couple of hours on a Saturday and a couple of hours on a Sunday. And so they asked me when I was working, dude, I was just a ball boy. But they said, Vance, would you mind running this class? There's 100 guys in there, but we want you to just be Vance. And so what I did is I went in there, man, and like you just said, I kept it 100, man. I was just honest and pure and just keeping it for real with everyone and inspiring them and letting them know how I was in the gutters of hell with this thing, and there's a way out of it. And so creating Vance Inspires is just a way for me to get out there and inspire people to look for change. And if they reach out to me on my Facebook page, at Vance Johnson 82, and send me an inbox, follow me. I'm always transparent about what I do. You can reach out to me on Vance Inspires, www.vanceinspires.com. Hope-driven change. I'm all about change, man, by inspiring people that there's hope and knowing that there's change out there. And if they just want to reach out to me on my Facebook page, I go around and I speak all over the place. So please reach out to me. Reach out to me at Futures of Palm Beach. It's my drug and alcohol rehab facility where I'm an outreach coordinator. So that's Futures of Palm Beach. Vance Inspires, or follow me on Facebook. Reach out to me. I'll show you the way out of this.
There you go, guys. This is coming from the man, Vance Johnson, the Three Amigos, your Denver Bronco favorite. This is a guy with integrity. He's been at the top, he's been at the bottom, and now he's helping, and he's trying to affect change. Vance, thank you for sharing your time with us tonight.
I appreciate it, brother. God bless you. Love your show.
All right. Congratulations on being sober since 2013 and your anniversary this week.
Thank you, man.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That was Vance Johnson of the Denver Broncos, Three Amigos. He had highs, he had lows, he had fame, he hit rock bottom, and he has come back from it. The integrity, the bravery, the introspection that it takes to not only be able to come out and admit that you have that problem, but to seek help, and then to find that help, accept that help, and then to extend a helping hand. That is something to be honorable. That is something to respect. I hope he continues along his efforts. I hope his sobriety continues on the way he wants it to be. I'm a fan of his. I always will be a fan of his. It was something that was hard for me as a fan. Let's face it. It's hard for any fan to hear one of their heroes or somebody they look up to isn't as perfect as we all imagine them to be. But Vance is striving to become a better man, and I applaud that, and I thank him for coming on tonight, being and sharing his story, and thanking me for giving him this platform. I love to use my platform to affect change, whether that's social change or just helping people. And I think I will take Vance up on his offer of just talking some football sometime. So I'll reach back out to him, and we'll make that happen. All right, we got some more time left in this show, so we're going to get to my Week 9 picks for the NFL this week. A couple of them changed this week. I made them early on in the week. I always make them for Real Take Tuesdays on the website. When you want to go check out the blog, you can. Real Deal Sports Talk with KP.com. We will be updating the website here shortly, probably around the beginning of the year, making some changes there to make the website look better and function a little better as well. But you can definitely check stuff out there. We'll put links for Vance Johnson, Vance Inspires, and the rehab facility on the website as well. Future Center. But Week 9 picks in the NFL. I did post these, like I said, this Tuesday, so don't come crying at me about my Thursday night picks. But on Thursday, I did take the Jets to beat Buffalo. I clearly say in the blog I have to pick at least one upset, and this is it. I thought the Jets would only squeak by with the win. However, they pretty much handed it to Buffalo on Thursday night. I got Carolina beating Atlanta. I wanted to change this pick with Kelvin Benjamin leaving, but I'm hoping that what they're going to try with the speed offense, getting Samuel on the field a little more, incorporating McCaffrey a little more, James Stewart in the running game maybe a little more, could open up that offense. And face it, Atlanta's been struggling all year with the coaching changes, trying to find a rhythm, some consistency on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep my pick of Carolina this week to beat Atlanta at home. This next game, I did change my pick. Early on in the week, I was taking Houston to beat Indianapolis. Hearing the news about Deshaun Watson and the ACL tear and now being out for the rest of the year, that was some shocking news. That's a game changer right there. I believe had Deshaun Watson continued to play the way he was for the rest of the season, he was a legitimate MVP candidate, especially with the players Houston's already lost on the season, losing a Whitney Merciless, losing a J.J. Watt, having time without Brian Kusher on the field. It takes a lot, and he stepped right in to a bad situation where they let Tom Savage start the first half of the first game, and then they bring in Watson off the bench. Since then, 19 touchdowns, non-contact injury in practice this week. I'll go with the scrappy Indianapolis Colts with Watson out. I think that psychologically is going to hurt Houston this week. Cincinnati versus Jacksonville. I'll take Jacksonville at home. Yes, they've been inconsistent this year, but I'll take them here. I think right now you got to look at the big free agent pickup on defense and Leonard Fournette. On offense, the defensive tackle, Cornelius, his name is escaping me right now. Sorry. I'm going to have to look that up real quick. But they're game changers for the Jaguars this year. The leadership that... God, what is his name and why is it escaping me? Calais Campbell. Thank you very much. Jeez. The leadership that Calais Campbell was able to bring over to that Jacksonville defense, all of those young stud athletes that they have on that side of the ball is clearly showing. And right now, he's an MVP candidate to me at this point in the season. He may be overlooked. I know DeMarcus Lawrence was voted by the fans, the NFL defensive player through the first half of the season in some poll they did this week. But he's on the bigger team that's getting more press. They're going to get more press. They have this Ezekiel Elliott situation hanging over them. But you look at what Calais Campbell has offered to the Jacksonville Jaguars this year, and it's been unbelievable. So I will take Jacksonville to beat Cincinnati in that game. Tampa Bay goes into New Orleans. I think New Orleans goes ahead, and they keep marching. Tampa Bay, yes, they have the ability to win this game. Yes, they have the talent to win this game. They got some guys injured this week. Jameis Winston, we don't really know what's going on there. So I'm going to take New Orleans. Drew Brees, you can't really count him out at home. The passing game, you can put anybody on the field with him. He's going to find it out. Kamara has really been picking it up the last couple weeks. So I will take New Orleans at home. Next game, I changed my pick on this one. I was taking the Giants early on. I thought their defense might give the Rams some trouble. They were going to be my second upset of the week. But finding out this week that Eli Apple's in trouble, Janoris Jenkins is in trouble, that team is in turmoil right now. I don't care what the offensive line got better for 1 week. They don't have enough going. LA goes into New York and steals a game from the Giants. Early in the week again, I was going to take Philly. I bought into the hype. I bought into the record difference. I bought into the quarterback change for Denver. I bought into all the negative stuff that was running through my head. The more I thought about it, Philadelphia is Carolina from 2015. They're not beating themselves right now. They're not making catastrophic mistakes. They're not turning the ball over at inopportune times and giving their defense short fields. Their defense is playing solid football. They're not turning the ball over like I just said. But at the same time, they're not that impressive yet. To me, anyway. I'm not that impressed. I'm not impressed with Alshon Jeffrey. I haven't been. As a Lions fan, I watched him play in Chicago. He didn't have it to me then to be a number one. He doesn't have it now. Torrey Smith has never been that good. Yes, he was fast. Yes, for a little while he learned how to catch the ball. But face it, he's older now. He's not getting the separation. Aguilar, he could be in the mix to catch Denver off guard. But I think if Denver can stop Ertz, who is questionable right now with, I believe, a hamstring this week, I think that gives Denver the opportunity to make one or two plays on offense and pull this win out in Philadelphia. So I'm going to take Denver in that one. I'm taking Tennessee over Baltimore at home. I know everybody's talked about this week. Tennessee lost to Miami in their last game. Baltimore blew Miami out, so Baltimore should win this one. Without Flacco, yes, Tennessee, I bought their hype too. I picked them to win the division this year. We'll see if that happens. But I will take Tennessee at home to beat Baltimore because I'm not sold on the Ravens this year. I think Arizona goes on the road even with a backup quarterback. They feed Adrian Peterson enough against San Francisco and that team that's just trying to get through this season and build something for the future. Garoppolo, it sounds like he's not going to start this week. So the Cardinals on the road versus San Francisco. Washington goes into Seattle. Washington is a scrappy team. Seattle seems like they're finally hitting their stride a little bit. I will take Seattle to win in the fourth quarter. Maybe late in the fourth quarter, but to win nonetheless at home. Last three games of the NFL schedule this weekend, I'm taking all of the road teams. I'm taking Kansas City to run all over Dallas. I think Kansas City and Andy Reid come up with a great game plan, and they are able to expose Dallas's defense, which is a try-hard defense. They got a bunch of guys that are going to come out there, and they're going to give you 110%, even though that's not possible on every play. They're going to fight, they're going to scrap, they're going to battle, and I'll give them credit for that. They just don't have a lot of talent, and I think Kansas City exposes that this week. Detroit versus Green Bay. Detroit, historically, we have been known to lose to the team who just lost their great starting quarterback. I would hate for that to happen this week. Green Bay's coming off the bye. It's on Monday night. I honestly can't remember the last time a nationally televised Lions game I actually got to see them win. Most of their wins I've gotten to see thanks to NFL Game Pass. But I am taking the Lions on the road in Green Bay to beat Brett Hundley in his starting debut there in Lambeau Field. I will also take Oakland on the road Monday night to beat Miami. I don't know what the Dolphins are doing right now. They traded Jaye. They're horrible on offense. Their head coach sounds like he's given up on them, calling the team out, saying that they're the worst offense in the NFL. So I'll take Oakland to get back on track this week a little bit and to beat the Dolphins on Monday night. Those are my real take Tuesday picks for the NFL schedule. Oh, what else? Great college football. I'm still, running on an emotional high from having Vance on the show. That was great. I'm still very thankful for him being out there and being willing to not only talk about his struggles and the highs and the lows, but come on the show tonight and talk to my listeners. But college football was crazy today too, so great games in college football today. We had 7 matchups of top 25 teams. There's some great games still going on tonight. Alabama plays tonight. USC plays tonight. Miami and Virginia Tech are on tonight. So there's still some great games here that are going to be coming on tonight. Oklahoma knocked off Oklahoma State in a huge offensive turnout in that one, as both teams put over 55 points on the board. If you haven't seen those highlights, go check them out. Number 1 team in the nation, Georgia, they hold off South Carolina. Notre Dame, they put it on Wake. The score looks closer than it really was, 48-37, but Notre Dame stays strong as the number 3 team in the country. Clemson mounts a comeback against NC State. Ohio State falls to Iowa, so everybody who is calling J.T. Barrett the number 1 guy for the Heisman Trophy this year, he goes and throws 4 picks against unranked Iowa, and Ohio State gets blown out 55-24. So we'll see if his name stays in that pool of people. Penn State falls again this week. They are definitely out of the playoff mix as Michigan State beats them on a last-second field goal this afternoon. Wisconsin, a strong outing today. Auburn, a strong outing today. A lot of good college football today, I have to say. I had the privilege of watching the offensive juggernauts of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State playing this afternoon. And I have to say that was pretty bad defense. The defense was winded from running all over the field, and both of those teams put on a great show. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you guys tonight. Vance Johnson, thank you very much. Vance Inspires. Reach out to him on Facebook. That's the highs and lows with Vance Johnson tonight, your Denver Bronco favorite. I have to say I'm impressed with him. I grew up a fan of him, and I'm not a fan of domestic abuse, and I know people that struggle with addiction. I'm proud of who he's trying to be, who he's become, and who he's trying to help others be. Keep strong, my man. Thank you for being on tonight. And until next time, y'all know how we do. Just keep it real.